I call this meeting to order of the Prosper Independent School District. Time is now 7:02. This meeting of Prosper ISD Board of Trustees is hereby called to order in accordance with Texas Government Code Chapter 551. Representing the quorum this evening, we have Mr. Van Wolf, Mr. Linker, Mr. Cavender, myself, Mrs. Dixon, Mr. Dial, and Mr. Bridges. Good to see everybody this evening. Thank you all for joining us. Mr. Dial, would you please lead us in prayer tonight?
Sure, if you'll join me. Father God, I just come to you tonight with a grateful heart for the work that goes on in this school district, the students that are learning, the staff that care for and educate the students of this district, and the great families that make up this wonderful community. God, I just pray for wisdom and discernment tonight as we walk through the matters before us. Just thank you for our administration and the leadership and serving that they do in this district. We love you. It's in your great name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Mr. Cavender, do you have the vision for us?
The board's vision is to ensure a safe and supportive educational environment that promotes academic excellence and opportunities, honors traditions, fosters student learning, facilitates effective recruitment and retention of talented educators, and grows all people at all levels.
Thank you, sir. As always, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with the Texas Open Meeting Act, which can be found in Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. All of our voting must be in public, but we can privately discuss certain items, including but not limited to matters regarding individual employees, individual students, land acquisitions and real estate, school safety and security, and matters requiring legal advice. However, after that private discussion, any final vote must be completed in view of the public. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, the agenda for tonight's meeting was posted for this public to view at least 72 hours before the meeting. On the screen, we should have some future dates coming up there for everybody. Give you all a quick second to look over those, and then we will go right into celebrations.
Yes, we have some amazing students to celebrate tonight. So the Texas Art Education Association, we have received the District of Distinction. It's an annual recognition program to honor school districts that are leading the way in visual arts. If you have spent any time in our schools seeing the visual arts actually on display or actually going into a classroom to see our students in action with our amazing teachers, you know the high quality that comes forward out of those classrooms. Over 1,200 districts in the state were eligible to apply, and just 69 districts received this outstanding honor. Prosper ISD is one of only 13 districts to have earned this distinction for 4 consecutive years, indicating our visual art program is in the top 1% of districts across the state. This is a K-12 distinction, so all art teachers and students contribute to earning this recognition every year. I'd like to bring Mr. John Alstrom forward, who is our Director of Fine Arts, and Mr. Timothy Doyle, who is our Fine Arts Coordinator. And I think we have some art teachers with us. I see Miss Church. Do I have anybody else? Miss Church, come forward. We didn't get here alone.
I didn't even know this was going on.
Well, look at that, bonus. Congratulations. Thank you all so much. We're also going to honor our Health Occupation Students of America, better known as HOSA. It's a state and international competition, and we actually have students who have placed with medals. And we want to recognize our students for National Service Project Recognition of Merit for the Texas State HOSA competition. So if those students and their advisors will come forward, we would love to recognize you. now I'm going to put you on the spot because that's what I do when you get up here. And so I want each of you to introduce yourself, say what grade you're in, and then school. Oh, wait, there's more.
There's more.
Anybody else gonna run up? Okay, we're gonna start right here. Oh, great. Sorry, I didn't hear what you did. So just, sorry. Just say your name, your grade, and then your campus that you're in.
Sophia Sardo. I'm in 9th grade at West. I'm now at Prosper High School.
Excellent. Oh, wait, I think you said that wrong. What school do you attend?
Prosper High School.
District notes will get me if I don't inside that order. Go ahead.
My name is Skylar Harrison. I'm in 12th grade and I go to Rockville High School. My name is Ryan Van Lee. I'm in 8th grade currently and I go to Glenwood Spring School.
Excellent.
I participated in the 7th grade and then currently 9th grade and I live in.
My name is Alea Oro. I'm in 12th grade and I go to Rockville. My name is Madison Cookie. I'm in 12th grade and I go to Rockville. My name is Graham Townsend. I'm a sophomore. I am a sophomore at the Prosper High School.
Mr.
Go
Jones would be so.
Eagles.
Okay, what? I'm sorry I interrupted.
My name is Karen. I'm in 10th grade and I go to the Prosper High School. My name is Uliana Chudaiva. I'm in 9th grade and I also go to Prosper.
My name is Arjun Smash and I also I'm in 9th grade and I also go to the Boston.
My name is Parker Winley. I'm in 9th grade and I also go to the Prosper. My name is Cindy Krishna. I'm also 9th grade and I go to the Prosper. My name is Sarah Shriram. I'm also 9th grade and I go to Washington High School.
Okay,
My
great.
name is Savannah and I'm in 9th grade and I go to the
Very good. Okay, so I want each of the instructors, also advisors, to introduce yourselves because this program is not just high school. You probably heard flashes of middle school in there, and it really does start at the middle school level. You may or may not be aware, but our students can actually take courses for high school credit while they're in middle school in Prosper ISD. So we certainly want to highlight that. And then seeing the continuation from the middle school to the high school level is exactly what we want to see with that connectivity from that class into the high school. So,
My name is Mrs. Jeremy Moore, and I am the host advisor, and I also teach medical detective at Reynolds Middle School.
yeah.
After I teach pharmacology and principles of health science and the host advisor at the Prosper High School.
I'm Lori Lewis. I am at Rockville High School and teach. I'm the host advisor there and then teach dual credit, medical terminology, pathophysiology, EKG tech, and honors pathophysiology.
Student that joined us, if you'll introduce yourself, what grade you're in, and then what campus you attend.
Hi, my name is Ananya Subramanian and I go to Prosper High School. I'm a 9th grader freshman.
Okay, very good. Well, we're glad that you all are here. I will say that one of our most highly sought after pathways is medical. And specifically, the Certified Nursing Assistant program is one that our kids get in, but we also have many, many students that continue on even past high school and get into the medical field. Doctors, nurses, Mr. Bridges would even speak to that because his daughter is a charge nurse down in Austin at a hospital there, and she went through the Certified Nursing Assistant program at Prosper High School. So we cannot wait to see what you all do and what the future holds for each and every one of you. And I want to say thank you to our teachers, because I know there's a higher level of commitment on your part to ensure that our students continue on, especially when they're going from middle school to high school. I know there's a lot of collaboration between all of you to talk about the students, what their skill sets are, and what's going to make the program even better and more robust. So thank you so much for that. And students, I love that you took time tonight to come up to the board meeting, because I know you probably had a zillion other things you could be doing that you chose here. So thank you for that.
There we go. Everybody ready? Get over the podium. Thank you.
on here, I do want to point out the hill. The Rock Hill. All right, okay, good. We got it covered? Okay. Good. All right, congratulations again. Okay, at this time, we are going to recognize a couple of our campus principals. You may or may not be aware, but we strive very hard to make sure that our principals have opportunities to learn just like our students and our staff members do. And a couple of those principals tonight, we have Marisol Valderas with us, who is the principal at Rucker Elementary, and she was selected for the Thompson Executive Leadership Institute and is attending their principal academy. If you will please come forward. Oh, there you are. And we also have two principals that are attending the Into Learning Principals Institute, which we've gotten great feedback about that. And actually, Ms. Valderas attended the Into Institute last year as a principal. The principals that are attending that institute are Dr. LaShawn Hodge, Bradley Elementary Principal. Ms. David Stelly, who is the principal of Light Farms Elementary. Ms. Stelly also attended the Thompson Leadership Academy last year, so this is another opportunity for her moving forward. I have to say this, not because I have to, but because I have the opportunity to. Our principals are so invaluable to us. The experience that the children have at the school has everything to do with what the principals really support and believe in, whether it's HOSA or Hope Squad or English or math, all of the things that they're offered, and they truly are the person who connects to make that experience one that is so exceptional and next level. And so I'm very proud of each and every one of our principals in Prosper ISD, but I want to make sure that we honor all three of you tonight. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all, everybody, for that. We will take a brief 1 to 2 minute intermission here. Students, if y'all are more than welcome to stay, and your families, if y'all would like to. We've got some interesting things on the budget tonight and a resolution, so I'm sure y'all would love it. But if not, I know that y'all have studying to do. If y'all would like to go home, this would be a great time to do it.
Let's go over here for super quick.
Opportunistic young lady there.
Mine was off too.
Be harder at that time.
All right, thank y'all to everybody else who stayed. I think that y'all will enjoy this next part. So we do not have anybody for comment on any agenda-related items this evening. So we will go straight into informational reports.
So our current student enrollment, you can see we're at 28,197 students as of today. And this is an add of 3,376 students year over year from this time last year. And then you can see that our growth in pre-K is at 49.7%. That's why we have an early childhood school, so that's good. It all worked out. And then you can see our enrollment by each of our campuses. All right. Now a report on our Bond 2019 construction projects. I believe we have a video. Very good. So a few construction projects occurring. One of the things I want to remind everybody of, I know y'all are aware of it, but extending that footprint, Jones Middle School going full 2 stories, and then a little bit bigger elementary size for Jackson Elementary to help with some of the growth and the impact that we're feeling. Right, and then we have an update on report on safety and security upgrades. I think we're going to play a video.
Welcome back, Prosper ISD. My name is Chad Vessels. I'm the police chief for the Prosper ISD Police Department. Just want to welcome all you guys back to the 23-24 school year and just talk to you guys a little bit about what we've done this summer as a police department to get ready for the year. Throughout the course of the summer, your officers have been working hard. They've been training so they can best protect each and every one of you as you come back into the building this fall. We've been out on the range. We've done live scenario training. All of our officers have been to alert training. And also just know that our training does not stop in the summer. Throughout the entirety of the school year on professional development days, on our department in-service days, we will continue to train so we can best support all of our students and staff here in Prosper ISD. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to our Prosper ISD Board of Trustees and our Superintendent, Dr. Holly Ferguson, who has made a huge commitment to safety and security in our district. In Prosper ISD, we have an officer assigned to every campus, including 2 officers on each high school. With that, the Prosper ISD Police Department has over 500 years of experience amongst our officers spread across the district. Not only do our officers have years of experience on the technical side of being a police officer, each of our officers also have a huge heart for kids. It is our initiative here in Prosper ISD that each of our students graduate with at least 500 positive interactions with one of our officers. Each of our officers are TCOL certified. TCOL is the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, which is the governing body for each agency in the state of Texas. Also, with one of our safety initiatives here in Prosper ISD, we have placed bullet-resistant film in strategic areas on all of our campuses across the district. The Prosper ISD Police Department works hard to collaborate with local agencies, including the Town of Prosper Police Department, the Frisco Police Department, the McKinney Police Department, the Salina Police Department, and both Denton and Collin County Sheriff's offices. We also work hard to maintain relationships with our state partners and also our federal partners. Another resource the Prosper ISD Police Department uses is Tip 411. Tip 411 is an anonymous tip platform where students, staff, and families alike can log on and report any suspicious activity that they have, and a Prosper ISD police officer will immediately respond. Again, welcome back to the 23-24 school year. I hope each and every one of you have an outstanding year. And if there's ever anything a Prosper ISD police officer can do for you, please do not hesitate to reach out.
Very good. We do have a board safety subcommittee too, and I didn't know if any of you wanted to add in any of the conversations or any of those of you that attended the gun range this summer to see how that bullet-resistant glass actually worked.
Yeah, as a board, several of us got to go out there. We also saw a video of it. Thank you, Assistant Chief Wolverton, for sending that to us. I feel good knowing my kids are in Prosper ISD. I know that we don't speak specifics to safety at certain levels, obviously for specific reasons on that, but I feel good knowing that our kids are in the Prosper ISD building every day for different things that we put in place, like the film, but also the people that we have within the department. So Chief, thank you as well. I've seen you around this evening, visiting with our officers. They are absolutely awesome. And anybody else have anything to add on that?
I would just echo what you said.
Yeah. We also, so that everybody knows, we do have a safety subcommittee. It is mandated by the state. I am on that. Mr. Cavender is on that. Mr. Van Wolf is on that subcommittee. We also have members from the community, and then our police department, the Prosper Police Department, Prosper Fire Department as well. And I always learn something new every time I go into that meeting. So I appreciate what y'all share with us and the fact that y'all are keeping an eye on everything that, as just a regular citizen, we would not think about. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I would just add to what Mr. Beaver said from that subcommittee meeting. It was insightful to see the various heads of all the departments you mentioned come together and the amount of work that goes on every day behind the scenes to keep our campus safe. This was incredible. As a parent and as a Board of Trustee member, it was very reassuring to see it. And the steps that we're taking, I feel like we're substantially further ahead than a lot of districts are that we have to be, frankly. So it's refreshing and very grateful for what you guys do every day.
One thing I'd point out, y'all don't always hear this part of the story, but there are staff members who chose our district specifically because of an officer being on every campus, right? The safety piece. And I would go as far to say there's a retention component in that as well. We have families that have chosen this district because of an officer on every campus. They knew that the quality of education was going to be at the highest level, but then kind of the added bonus was the fact that there was going to be an officer, especially if they're coming from a place where safety was compromised or was a concern. And so being able to have that in place is just invaluable. And especially as I talk to superintendents in the area who are trying to make sure they get a police department put together or trying to come up with their next option, I'm just reminded how very fortunate we are in this district. And I want to thank each of you for committing to that.
Well, I know you guys, y'all set the standard in the state. Y'all have told us and shared with us the amount of other school districts that reach out to our police department, asking them how y'all did it. So not only are y'all benefiting the students and the families of Prosper ISD, but the state as well. And so on behalf of the state, we appreciate that.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Mrs. Biggs, our Chief Academic Officer, and she's going to be providing a report on our curriculum framework that we use in Prosper ISD.
Dr. Ferguson, board. Dr. Ferguson, just pull on your ear if it's like time for me to sit down, because I get carried away on this subject. The slides you're about to see are slides we use in parent presentations, but they're also slides we use when we train our teachers that come in to work for us. So we get everybody on the same page. Our curriculum coordinators work with our teacher collaborators to make sure they understand how to do this. But the first slide, Design for Life, we're really serious about this, that the learning that happens in Prosper does not stay in the classroom. When kids leave the classroom, they're going to move to the next grade and the next grade, and all this learning will come together to when they leave us, they can take all of this learning and apply it to wherever they want to go in life. So the curriculum framework that we use is backward design. And I'll show you real quickly how this works. The first thing we do is we determine the desired results. However, we're not the ones to determine that. The state does. This is where our state standards are established. This part here, we can't monkey with this. We're told very clearly, this is what you do. So we make the decision On stage 2, what is the evidence that will show us that we got our kids to these goals, that the state standards, the knowledge and skills have been met? So we determine what is that evidence? And it could be an assessment, a formal assessment, it could be a project. There are multiple ways that we can determine that. Then stage 3 is where we say, okay, what are the learning experiences that we're going to give our children to make sure they move through this entire stage 1, 2, and 3? And here's what's really important to us in Prosper, and this is why so many educators come here, it's because we develop our own curriculum. Some other districts will tell you they have canned curriculum, they purchase their curriculum. We don't do that, and this is why it's important to our students. We don't teach the content, we teach the kids that are in front of us that year. So we have to meet every year. We determine, the teacher teams determine together what are the learning experiences for the kids that are in front of me this year. Because we know one year you may have a group of kids that are high flyers. We know that one year you may have a group of kids that need a little more support, and we need to be able to respond to the kids' needs. So the analogy we like to use when we do trainings with our teachers is that the standards are like the tools in your toolbox. They're shiny, new. You can see this in some gentlemen's garages, but the question is, do they ever really get touched? So what we want to do is take the knowledge and skills, the standards, and we want the kids to actually take these tools and we want them to use them. Oh. Wait, I'm having a little technical glitch. Thank you. So here's an illustration of that. We want the kids to take the standards, whatever it is that we've taught them, and we want them to apply them. We want them to build something with them, create something with them. I'm going to need assistance on the advancing. So what we're talking about here is that understanding the standards leads to application, leads to where the kids can actually put these into practice. So we use this STEM with our teachers. I want you to learn about content, and the teachers would plug in whatever their content is, so that in the long run, students will be able on their own to use that content too, and we move them to understanding. So here's an English example, because I taught English. I want you to learn about Romeo and Juliet, so that in the long run, you will be able on your own to use that content to approach and interpret complex texts. We appreciate that Shakespeare is a seminal writer. We're all about everything that Shakespeare brings to the table, but we also know that every student in front of us is not going to be a literature major. So what we're really after for all students is that we can give them a mortgage, we can give them a legal document, and as adults, they'll be able to move through the text, and because they experience Shakespeare, they're like, this piece of cake. We've sharpened their cognition. They know how to go into these complex texts. So we talk about transfer goals. And these are what are necessary to build competencies. And competencies are skills, knowledge, and understanding that all come together and move to that image where they took the tools and put them into practice. So we do this with our teachers. So here are 5 successful people. Then we would ask the teachers, first of all, we'd ask them if they all know who everybody is. And the one that stumps them is Yo-Yo Ma in the corner. We usually end up having to tell them that. Then we ask them, what are these people, what are their competencies? And they'll say, well, Taylor Swift, she's a songwriter, she's a singer, Yo-Yo Ma is a cellist, Dak football, and so on. Then we move them to this slide. Now it's not an exhaustive list, but it's a list of competencies. Now using this list of competencies, we go back to the first image and we say, using only this list, tell me what Dak Prescott does. And what they'll say is, okay, he discerns, he analyzes, he communicates, he plans, and so on. Then we'll move to Taylor Swift, we move through the same thing. Then what we do is we ask the teachers, okay, what do you teach? And so the teacher will say Algebra 1, and then we'll say, okay, but using this list, what do you really teach? And they will answer with, oh, of course, I analyze, I discern, and so on and so forth. And we'll do that with teachers in multiple subject areas, because what we want them to see is what they do for us is bigger than just what's in their classroom. It really does prepare them for life. And all of the teachers, regardless of the content that they teach, are teaching all of these competencies. That's what we do as educators. So So here's a graphic that kind of ties it together that we really like. The first one is knowledge, and those are your standards. Those are the TEKs, little discrete TEKs. Then understanding is what happens when teachers get a hold of the kids. And we build understanding in the classroom through the learning experiences we do with the students, and then we move them to competencies. And that's where they take this knowledge, these skills, this understanding, and they apply it in novel situations. And ultimately, they'll apply it into life. So one of the core sentences you'll hear our curriculum coordinators and curriculum people say is that content is the vehicle to competencies. Regardless of your content, we're building competencies. Another point that we really try to make with teachers, so when we talk about being creative, we're not talking about just artistic creativity. We're talking about creativity. We're talking about building students who have really nimble minds that can respond to whatever's in front of them, whether it's a creative way to solve a math problem or put together an essay, whatever it is. Creativity is a lot broader than just, hey, it's a trip to Michael's for poster board and paint. We're talking about creativity of the mind. The other thing that we really want teachers and curriculum writers to consider is the juice worth the squeeze? You think about the students that are in front of you and the learning experiences that we build, we want them to really be cognizant of the learner. Is it really necessary to assign a kid a 10-day project when maybe we can get that learning to them in 1 hour? So we want to always respect where they are. And that's respect the learner, of course, right? So if we go through this again, identify desired results, those are the standards. What's the acceptable evidence? And then finally, the learning experiences and instruction. And this is all teacher developed. And what I'd like you to understand about how the curriculum is written is that our curriculum coordinators at elementary and secondary will pull teachers and they facilitate the writing of this. And another thing that's beautiful about our documents is that they're living documents. So if teachers write the curriculum and they go back to the classroom and they're like, it looked good on paper, didn't really play out in the classroom, they can provide immediate feedback to our curriculum coordinators, and then we can go back in and we can make revisions. So this is so much better than purchasing a curriculum. Now we're really always responding to where the kids are, where the teachers are, what's working and what's not working. I also want to point out that just because it's teacher developed with our curriculum people doesn't mean they're not supported. And I can tell you, this isn't the only district I've worked in, but it's the best district I've worked in. And the support that is provided to teachers here, honestly, people, it's unparalleled. I've never seen anything like it. Between the instructional coaches, our coordinators, our librarians, our dyslexia people, all the people that are working with these kids, they all come together and help the curriculum be what it is and really bring it to life. A quick shout out to our coaches. In most other districts, instructional coaches, they go in and work with teachers that are having struggles. But in Prosper, we don't work at a deficit model. Everybody is supported by coaches. Everyone's all hands on deck. The kids in my classroom are also the kids in your classroom. They're all of our classrooms. And we take that to heart very much. And I couldn't be prouder to work with the people I work with. My team is fabulous. And I couldn't be more honored to speak to you tonight. Any questions? Good.
One thing I do want to add, and I think this is it's a wonderful thing because I've worked in other places too, and the fact that our curriculum team is working with our teachers designing curriculum around a Prosper ISD student is paramount in the work that we do. Because when you buy canned curriculum or you purchase things, you're getting that generated out of some other place, and it has no glance at a Prosper kid. And so to know that when our teachers are sitting down with our curriculum people, they're thinking about the kids that are in their classrooms is one of the most powerful pieces of our curriculum design and really the level of support that Ms. Biggs was talking about. It's been a heavy lift and a lot of work to get to this point, but it was so worth it.
Yep.
It's also not inexpensive
No.
to go that route either.
No, it's
And
not.
so oftentimes, we've talked about our buildings and other things here, which, hey, I see Mr. Brown, Mr. Pogue out here this evening. We have great stuff there. But this is the heart of Prosper ISD right here, and I am grateful that we do create our own curriculum. So thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Ms.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Biggs. think we have Ms. Cease now with our financial investment tax report. Quarterly.
Good evening. Tonight we have the interim unaudited financial and investment reports for the quarter ended 8/31. That's also the end of our fiscal year. So our annual audit is scheduled for November, so we'll bring back the audited version to you in January for your approval. I'll begin with the review of our portfolio as of 8/31. Bond funds represent $270.2 million or 58.4%. As you can see, many constructions have been underway between last year and this year. The general fund was at $154.4 million for an overall portfolio of $462.7 million. Something to note on this slide is the food service account is 0 for last year, and there's an amount this year, but we just separated that. It was part of the general fund last year. We separated that for accounting and reconciliation purposes. The good news is the rates are increasing, and we've come a long way since last year. They're much higher this year and steady. Last year, just for a point of reference, the weighted average yield was 2.17%. The 30-day treasury was 2.28%, and the one-year yield was 3.28%. So with the higher rates and the support of Hilltop Securities, we anticipate a more active investment and cash management process. So we expect to maximize investment earnings while remaining safe and liquid for district needs. This slide represents the general fund. As of 8/31, tax collections are where we expect them at 103% for $157 million. After adjustments for anticipated settle up from the state, that's right where we expect it to be. The total revenue is $269.3 million or 102.85%. Another point of reference for last year, we were right there. We were 102.49 compared to the budget. On the expenditure side, you'll see that payroll is by far the largest expenditure, which this is also expected. In total, we have $244.3 million or 94.3%. And again, last year we were at 91.86%. So based on the projected revenue and expenditures, we are anticipating an approximate increase to our fund balance of $24 million. With this add, our unassigned fund balance will be in line with previous years. It'll be approximately 24% of the 23-24 budget. The district is required to maintain 3 months of unassigned fund balance by TEA. So if we continue to add 10 to 20 each year, we keep the relationship with the budget in the target area of 3 to 6 months. The next slide. Keep in mind we still need to add some encumbrances that haven't come through, because as of 8/31, it depends on when it was received. If it was received 3 days later, we have to post it to this year. So we still expect to see some of that. And just to remind you, the additional revenue was increased earnings. And then I just wanted to point out that we have historically been able to add to fund balance because we've saved on the expense side and outperformed on the revenue side. And it's a direct result of the conservative budgeting that we've all experienced. The district will continue to budget conservatively to maintain the ability to adjust to any legislative changes or economic challenges that may occur, but we don't want to negatively impact student achievement, so that's most important. This represents the athletic fund, and it is actually part of what we just looked at, but we like to break this out. This is game and gate funds on the revenue side. The revenue is at $1.5 million, and then the related expenditures are just over $1 million. So we do expect to see around $530,000, which is right in line with last year. So that's very consistent. So we like to see that. The next is food service. The district contracts with Aramark Food Service, and we're really proud that we're able to provide a wide variety of selections for students and staff. The revenue posted at $11.4 million or 103% compared to the budget. The expense side is at 10.5 million, which is 95.8% compared to the budget. And last year at this time, we were about 101% on revenue and 98.5% on expenditure. So again, we're right in line. The increased enrollment and was just due to the revenue was just due to the increased enrollment and the additional meals served. We also received 2 supply chain grants, so this contributed to the anticipated surplus this year. So we're expecting about $900,000, but that has to do with the additional grants and additional meals served. The next slide is our debt service fund. There are 2 payments per year in February and August. The revenue consists primarily of tax collections, so you see that at 85 million. The expenses are a little different this time. They include 137 million, but this is a flow-through entry that we have to make due to the repricing. So you heard Mr. Witt speak in March, and then it came through in August. So we have to book it this way. So it looks kind of scary, but it's not. We're actually anticipating over $2 million to hit fund balance. We don't normally show these because it's not finalized yet, but I didn't want that to look like a big red number. So this is very consistent. And last year we were right at the same percentages. So that's a good thing. I'm going to go through these pretty quick. There's several of these, but this just shows where our money is going to. Elementary 16, Liliana, at 36.3 million. We're very close to finalizing those expenditures with 2% remaining with POG. Christie Elementary, 36 million. We're very close there as well. Approximately 4% remaining. Elementary number 18 is Jackson. It's scheduled to open in August of 24. At 5.7 million in construction is taking place, approximately 10% in expenditures with POG. The early childhood school, it's open and it's so impressive. It's so exciting to go there and look at the early education experience rooms. They're pretty neat. It's a must-see. At 43 million, we're very close to finalizing all those expenditures with approximately 3% remaining with POG. Middle school, number 5, Jones. It's well underway. It's scheduled to open in August of 24. We're about halfway there on this one. Mosley, number 6, it's underway as well. 7.8 million and 3% related to the POG contract. Walnut Grove, number 3, is also open and functioning while also gaining national attention. It's amazing. At 221.5 million, it's very close to being finalized with approximately 1% remaining with POG. And then we have high school number 4, Richland. It's definitely moving dirt. The recent groundbreaking was very special and the raters were revealed, so that was neat. At 20 million on the final expenditures, we're at approximately 3% complete with POG. And this concludes the quarterly interim financials. I'm happy to address any questions or get back with you if there's any I need to get with the team on.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Cease. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up we have Prosper ISD Bond 2023. Just to kind of recap, go back, we've gone out and done several visits, campus visits and some group visits. Obviously, we are growing at an exponential, I refer to as hypersonic growth, which is what the state refers to it as. And you can see that we're at 105.9% growth, with Melissa just a tick behind us at 102.5%, and that's over the last 5 years. So the need is certainly there with the growth. Liliana Elementary, one of our brand new elementaries, we love to highlight all of the great things that are obviously going on all of our campuses, but very unique to Liliana. the subdivision actually used our school district as a reason to buy a home, and they even highlighted it on their very own website. And what I love is that they're highlighting it because of academic achievement and recruiting those families to come and buy a home there. And you can see that our growth, even on the first day of school at Liliana, was 721. We're now at 757 students, currently on September 7th. Challenges of fast growth. I always want to highlight these when I'm talking to groups because we do have a lot of amazing accolades and things that are happening in our district, but there are also some real challenges that we face each and every day. One of those being 134 classroom and 58 portable buildings. Knowing that 5,000 of our students at some point in time during their instructional day, they've come in contact with a portable facility. And one of the major concerns that we typically get as a question from parents is safety when their child is in a portable. And then certainly with the extreme heat we were experiencing at the beginning of the year, also the ACs trying to keep up with the heat on the outside. So there were challenges that came obviously and continue to come to our district. Hall Elementary opened in 2022, so just a year ago, and already has portable classrooms established for class to be instructed there. And then certainly the attendance boundary adjustments, those are always challenging because kids and friends and families come together and then we start moving them because of the growth. And then our class sizes sometimes go well above and certainly bring those waivers to you that you all have for this month, but not something that we want to see, but right now something that we experience through the midst of the high growth. And then just the stress on the programs and the teachers. Every time that we open a new building, it gives a chance for staff and for students, parents, to engage at a different level. But many times we'll run into in the middle of fast growth, there's not enough slots, especially when you look at something like certified nursing assistants where you say there's only so many students who will get in the program. There are students that we have to turn away, which is not something that we want to do, but certainly as a product of the growth and as a challenge for us. These are some of our accolades and highlights, one of those being the best communities for music education. You heard about our art distinction for 4 years running now. One of my favorite is the high school barbecue team, state champion, I might add. And what I always tell our students, actually visiting with several of them on Friday, is that we're looking for programs to give them a chance to be a part of that are going to transfer throughout their lives. The high school barbecue team, I can envision kids still barbecuing, right, as grandparents one day. I can see students still being able to apply things that they learned in their Hope Squad class. So there are things that we look at, how will we apply this well into the future? Our hostess students, even if they end up not going into nursing or medical field, but will they be able to provide first aid in the instance that there's a need for it? And then certainly our athletes continue to achieve at high levels. I would like to point out that Prosper High School beat Geyer Friday night. Just going to put that out there. And then this is a picture that really gives you a feel of what Prosper used to be. So the cornfields, cotton fields, and then now all of the subdivisions with all of those lines and the growth that is occurring in our district with sporadic pieces of land still available to build on. But you can see just the 106% growth is certainly evident in this map. And of course, there's a pop quiz because we're at school right now. And so how many students will be in Prosper in 2033? Believe it or not, in 10 years, we'll have 45,000 plus students. And then our smallest middle school is bigger than how many Texas high schools in the state of Texas?
I'll go C.
C.
Answer's always C, right?
C, well, that's what they taught you in school, right? Go with C, it's the best answer. But 773, our middle schools are bigger than 773 Texas high schools. How much will this bond increase the tax rate? I think we all know the answer on that because we're capped at the 50 cents.
Not C.
Not C.
It is not
That one.
C this time, so we'll
0.
switch up, 0. And then how many students in Prosper ISD did we grow last year? You've probably seen this on our marquees. I know you all know this as a board member, but certainly we're putting those facts out and about at our school communities too. And the answer is C, 3,400 students. We have 4 propositions, A, B, C, and D. And I will say that I was with our parent ambassadors the other night. One mom who served on our long-range planning committee, who is also a parent ambassador, she said, I just have to tell you, I almost dropped my phone when I got the publication from the recap from the board meeting for the bond and that the Performing Arts Center was on it. She said, I didn't think that that would happen, but it did. And so she wanted me to express thank you to you for allowing the community to be able to vote. That meant a lot to her as a parent. So Proposition A, you can see that includes our new school facilities, support facilities, modernization and expansion of school facilities, safety and security, technology, buying land, and then our buses and then vehicles, which are white fleet. You will see Traverses and Suburbans driving about with Prepare to Prosper, some of our special education programs or athletic programs, sometimes travel in those, as well as our staff if they're going to trainings at times. And then you can see what this is included. So 6 elementary schools, early childhood schools, so a second early childhood, 2 middle schools to come through this potential bond. Completing Richland High School, so that's one of those that'll crosswalk between 2019 bond and potentially the 2023 bond. High School number 5, and then the Administration Building, Professional Learning Center, and then our outdoor learning experience for our students. This gives you just a glance, and it kind of highlights the growth that has happened on the west side and the facilities that we have on the west side of the district, and then moving that to the center of Prosper, and then looking to the east side of the district, and you can see the school facilities that we have and support facilities across the district. You can see the modernization that's needed at some of our aging facilities. And I always get this question, why would Light Farms, and this one actually has come up, why would Light Farms be in need of modernization? If we think about in the current moment of Light Farms, you might look at that facility and say there's not a need there. But you have to think about the unseen, the HVAC, carpet, paint, those things that will come probably within the next 5 to 7 years. And so we're trying to keep that in mind. And as you all are aware, conducting that facility study was extremely helpful to identify those areas that would need some TLC moving forward. And then you can see expanding our campuses, Rucker, Reynolds, Rogers, and Prosper High School. And I'm going to go into a little more in-depth information about those right now. So the question is, what is the specificity on what are the things that would happen at some of these facilities that need expansion or that modernization? So looking at a new multi-purpose room to accommodate cheer and wrestling. The building was not built with a wrestling facility, but if you go to Rock Hill or to Walnut Grove, they have a facility. So trying to make sure that we're providing equity within those facilities. And then looking at constructing a new parking lot. You might remember several years ago, we put a gravel parking lot when there were like 4,100 students back, I believe it was 2019, and we put the gravel parking lot out there for additional parking because kids didn't have a place to park. So we would go in and actually pave that and get the gravel out. And as a parent, I appreciate that. I'm tired of the chips on the car. So campus expansion at Rogers Middle School, so additional classroom space, trying to get the building capacity to 1,500. So looking at making their competition gym an actual competition gym. If you've ever been in Rogers, it's limited seating in what would be the actual competitions gym, so actually giving them a larger facility that would help accommodate dance, orchestra, and then the gym. Constructing a new weight room and looking at additional lockers for our student athletes, not within the classroom because kids don't use the lockers as much as they used to, but more on the athletic side. And then looking at the security aspects of the front of Rogers through the front vestibule, and looking at what we can do within that administration office area. And then at Reynolds Middle School, looking at additional classrooms to increase that capacity. Just for reference and understanding our past, Reynolds Middle School actually served as Prosper High School back in the mid to late 90s. So that is our actual original high school that was then turned into a middle school. Creating a band hall and repurposing the existing band hall into a new space for choir, orchestra, and theater so that they have some equity within those learning spaces as well. And then with Rucker Elementary, looking at a potential rebuild of that facility, looking at state-of-the-art collaborative spaces, and then a new floor plan that would really kind of set the mode and the model for our future elementary construction. That's all within Proposition A. And then some of the things that would be happening at all of the schools, you can see the mechanical, electrical, plumbing services, paint, carpet, tile, safety systems, security cameras would have to be upgraded. Not always the super fun stuff, but LED lighting, landscaping, irrigation, furniture is fun. So getting some new furniture and refreshing that, but looking at the roof and making sure that we don't have leaks and just some of those maintenance things that need to be done. And so those are the things we'd be looking at all of those facilities that are listed on the screen in front of you. And you can see the overall total for that, which is the bulk of the bond. And then Proposition B, upgrade of technology. So this is new devices for students and teachers and staff so that we can stay up with our model that we currently have. And then Proposition C is a 8,000 seat stadium that we would be looking at. Our stadium currently holds 12,000. It does not have a track within that facility. One of the things that I want to point out with a new stadium, many times, especially in the state of Texas, we go immediately to football, but there are many other aspects that happen within this facility. We have audio visual. Mr. Cavender and I were having this conversation the other day. Our students have the ability to be able to run the ribbons and the jumbotrons and the different things that come through the audio visual piece of that. We have athletic trainers who are also on the field learning about health and how to medically support student athletes while on that field. We have drill team that gets out there. We have a band that gets out there on the field. Special Olympics being able to be run through a stadium where the track is, because currently we're using our original stadium right here down the hill at Reynolds Middle School. So there are a couple of different aspects that it will provide to us. And also one thing that we need to take into consideration is you can run about 4 high schools through a stadium. And so we just broke ground on the 4th high school. And so it becomes a very demanding schedule on our people, but also our families trying to make it to all of those games and be present. So 8,000 seat, and this is just a picture, not a rendering. We don't have a rendering yet. And then that would be renovating turf and track. And certainly the concussion protocols that we need to look at to keep up to date with turf is a piece of this. And then Proposition D, constructing a new performing arts center for students for dance, theater, and music, and the visual arts. And so not an actual drawing, but just an idea of what this facility might look like. Looking at a 2,500 seat auditorium, which is much larger than our current high schools. Okay, and 0 tax increase with a total of a 2.8 bond. One of the things that we continue to point out is, and I know you all have discussed this about it being a property tax increase, and that language is extremely confusing. It is brought down by the Texas legislature that we must add that language to the ballot, and there is a reason behind that, and we want our people to go and vote. But what has been found is that there are some districts that have a hard time fulfilling that promise that they made with those bond funds. And so the legislature decided, hey, we need to add this language on so that there was consistency. And so that's why that language is there. But again, with our 50-cent cap, since 2007, there is no tax increase for Prosper ISD. And I do wish that we could use these funds to pay teachers, but as we know, this is a different bucket of money, and we cannot pay personnel from this. So please register to vote. If you have not already done so, the deadline is October 10th, and you can fill out an application online. If you have questions about the bond, there's a QR code, and certainly you can reach out to our group and send those questions in, because we update that website on the regular to make sure that the information is current and available to our community. All right, any questions?
Election Day, November, they'll have early
November
voting.
7th, yes,
for the-
October 23rd, we start early voting, and then November 7th will be the actual election day.
Perfect. All right. Any other questions, comments, anything? That was a lot of stuff this evening. Thank you, Dr.
Thanks
Burke.
for the update.
Yeah, thank you all, everybody that participated in that. A lot of good things going on and exciting things within Prosper ISD, as always. Okay, let's see here. Moving along, consent agenda this evening is the minutes. Mr. Dial, thank you for looking over those. Thank you for not giving me a hard time about making the motion twice last month in there. You didn't point that out, so I'll give myself a hard time. Any questions, comments on that? Anything from anyone? Okay, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion. I move that the board approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. All in favor? That is all 7 of us this evening. All right. All right. Action items. This is 9A. Consideration and possible action regarding a resolution authorizing the district to join litigation against the Texas Education Agency, also known as TEA, challenging the lack of transparency in the calculation of school district accountability ratings. There's obviously a lot to discuss here on this one. So Dr. Ferguson, if you would like to quickly walk us through what's going on here, and then we'll talk about our resolution.
Our community has probably seen it on the news at this point in time. There are 56 districts that we're aware of in the state who have gone in on this litigation against TEA with the A through F accountability. What happened is the commissioner changed the rules and there was no notification, and that is part of what he should have done for school districts to give us a fair shot. I want you to think about it like a student. If a student came to school one day and I said, you're going to need to make an 80 on this test in order to pass it. Okay, that's great. And then the next day the student came in and I said, you know what, actually forget that. The 80's not good enough. You should have made 100 on this in order to be able to get full credit. And the student would say to me, but wait, yesterday I made an 80. You're not giving me a chance to take the test again. You just changed the standard on me, but there's no way to adjust that. So in essence, that is what has happened to our Texas public schools, is that that metric was moved. And so Ms. Anderson did a great job last month and presented that. So the metric that got changed significantly was the college career and military readiness. We went for an expectation of a score of 60 to a score of 88 without notification. And that is a drastic jump of 28 points that we're looking at for each of the school districts in the state of Texas to be able to accomplish, specifically our high schools. I will say that our campuses have done extremely well, and the heroic efforts by each and every one of our educators in this district, coming out of several years of a pandemic where we had staff in place, staff out of place, because they were sick, kids in school, kids out of school, and just trying to hold school together, and to see what they have done by looking at the data and analysis. It's absolutely incredible what our teachers have done, given the circumstances that we have been up against. And so the commissioner has said that he is going to look at this and then would get back to us late October, early November. But we feel that confident that we need to pursue and continue to move forward with this. This is about advocacy for our students. It's advocacy for our staff who's worked so incredibly hard to ensure that our students were learning at high levels. And I just wish that the state of Texas would ask us what the true experience of a child is in Prosper ISD. And I would tell you it probably has nothing to do with a STAR test or an EOC test. It has everything to do with the programs, the opportunities, the teacher and the educators that are impacting their child. And so I think this is a great opportunity and a window of opportunity for you as a board to advocate for Prosper ISD and for what this community stands for when it comes to the children in our community.
Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. Mr. Van Wolf, you have got the resolution there. Was going to ask you to read through that, and then at that point we can discuss comments, anything of that nature.
Sure thing, be glad to. Resolution authorizing the district to join litigation against the Texas Education Agency challenging lack of transparency in calculation of school district accountability ratings. Whereas the A through F accountability system is a statewide rating system established by the Texas Education Agency that evaluates the academic performance of Texas public schools and assigns letter grades A through F to districts and campuses. Whereas the TEA has substantially changed the accountability rating system in a manner that will impact every school district and campus in the state, meaning that the ratings expected to be issued in fall 2023 for the 2022-2023 school year will be based on a different set of rules than previous A through F ratings, and making it impossible to compare the ratings issued by the TEA in 2022 and 2023 side by side. Whereas, in violation of state law, the TEA did not provide the Prosper Independent School District information regarding the changes to the A through F accountability system prior to the start of the 2022-2023 school year, and indeed still has not provided a full explanation of the rules and methodologies that are being used to determine district and campus ratings. Whereas the Prosper Independent School District's Board of Trustees understands that certain school districts throughout the state have filed a lawsuit against the TEA to challenge the lack of transparency in the criteria used as part of the A through F accountability system, and to prohibit the TEA from issuing performance ratings for the 2022-2023 school year that are based on measures, methods, and procedures that were not provided to school districts prior to the start of the 2022-2023 school year in violation of state law. And whereas the district has been harmed by the lack of advance notice of the criteria and methods the TEA is applying as part of the A through F accountability system for the 2022-2023 school year. Because the district does not know the expectations set by the state of Texas for school districts, has been unable to adjust to the TEA's new accountability measures and allocate district resources in a manner required to meet state standards. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the board authorizes the district administration to join the litigation against TEA as an intervener to challenge the TEA's failure to provide district advance notice of the accountability performance measures, methods, and procedures that are being applied as part of the A through F accountability system for the 2022-2023 school year before the start of that school year, in violation of state law. The board authorizes the district administration to engage legal counsel to represent the district in the lawsuit against the TEA.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Okay, looking at this, I'm frustrated by the timing of this coming down, knowing that we're about to go into another special session. Fortunately, the TEA has said that they are going to back up and not release that for now, but still, though, they leave themselves an opening in which they could use this to use schools as a pawn again on something, and I'm disappointed by that. So I'm grateful for the board for taking a look at this tonight. We will have a chance to vote on this here in just a moment. Dr. Ferguson, you did mention, people coming in and seeing what's going on in Prosper ISD schools. I know that we have a good relationship with our state representatives, our state senators. They are well aware of what's going on in Prosper ISD, and I am proud of the product that we're putting out in Prosper ISD, and I will put that up against any district in the state of Texas.
I appreciate that, Mr. Beavers. It's time for us to take a stand. We cannot take a chance to lose any more teachers, and this is another shot. Because teachers will make the choice ultimately of, like, if it's a no-win battle, why? And why will I be defined by these standards that are not fair? And so I think that this is a moment for us, and I'm thankful for all the districts in the state of Texas who have taken this stand on behalf of Texas Public Schools.
Well, I will say I would fully support, joining the 50 plus state other districts that are doing this resolution. I do think it's important to stress to our families again that we take such pride in Prosper ISD that we don't put the emphasis on this the day of a test on this grade, that we have a community-based accountability system. However, this is an opportunity for our board to advocate for our teachers, for our students, and to make that right. That their standard, and when you make something a standard, that you hold true to what you've said going forward.
Very well said, Mrs. Dixon.
Yes.
Okay, with that being said, it is an action item, so I will entertain a motion at this point.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. I move that the board adopt the resolution authorizing the district to join litigation against the Texas Education Agency, challenging the lack of transparency in the calculation of school district accountability ratings.
Thank you, Mr. Dial. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Any more discussion? I know we've talked a good bit about this, but anything other to add?
Yeah, I'd like to get, is there any perspective we have on what it would cost to join this?
Yes, it's $1 per student based on our enrollment of May of 2023.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
So we actually catch a little deal on that.
Yeah.
You've seen the enrollment numbers.
That's
so-
right, 3,700,
Bonus.
3,400 kids.
All right. Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor?
Aye.
That is all 7 of us, none opposed. All right, thank you all. All right, let's see here, 9B, consideration and possible action regarding members of Student Health Advisory Council, also known as SHAC. This is a list that you have been provided of people, district employees, members of the community. We've all had a chance to review that. Anything to add, any discussion on this? No, okay.
Just a thank you to all the people who are willing to volunteer for the committee.
Absolutely, they put in some time on this one, so very much thank you all to the people that are involved with that. Again, another action item, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Linker.
I move that the board approve the members of the School Health Advisory Council as presented by administration.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Van Wolf. Any other discussion? No? All right, let's go ahead and vote. All in favor? That is all 7 of us, none opposed. 9C, consideration and possible action to award the construction manager at risk contract for elementary number 20, opening in August 2025. Goodness, 20. I mean, wow. The growth does not slow down.
Good evening, members of the board. As you just mentioned, we're talking about elementary number 20, which is coming quick. I want to point out a couple of things about this one. Number one would be that number 20 is contingent upon November's election, but we need it in 2025, so that's why we're talking about it now, even though to be clear, the funding wouldn't exist dependent upon that election. Elementary 19 you approved in the July board meeting, and so we awarded that to Pogue under a construction manager at risk. We 2 weeks ago received bids, or last week received bids on behalf of elementary number 20. Had 4 companies participate in that, and you see the spreadsheet that we provided. The recommendation of the administration would be to award that to Pogue Construction, bid at a 0.9% rate, and you can see that total dollar amount at $347,000 when you include the pre-construction amount and the construction services fee. These were competitive bids, and all 4 bids were very competitive, but this 0.9% that Pogue has bid is extremely low, as you know. This is the district is benefiting here from a low construction services fee, so we're recommending that. And the other thing I just wanted to point out about this elementary number 20 is if the board awards this tonight to Pogue Construction, we would bid 19 and 20 at the same time in hopes that volume would win the day and that we could see some better pricing to bring more players to the table on a bid day. So to be clear, we would have 2 GMPs, but we would bid them at the same time in hopes that we would see some participation from subcontractors that we think could benefit us. And then I guess last I should mention, we anticipate that this elementary would be in the community of Mosaic, which is on the northwest side of our district. This is a fast-growing community. It is just now opening model homes, but they're expected to have over 400 inhabited homes by the time this elementary would open in August of 25. So that is why that was selected for the spot. But the recommendation is Pogue Construction. Answer any questions. If you have them, we also have Mr. Pogue, Mr. Bledsoe, Mr. Pearson, and Mr. Colquitt here tonight representing Pogue if you have any questions for them.
Any questions for the board?
No, I would just say, Dr. Bradley, thank you for the due diligence you guys do in providing the evaluation with each of these campuses for us to look at, to compare. It's very beneficial, so thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I would also say thank you, Mr. Pogue, for y'all's bid on this and where y'all came in at. Again, we appreciate the partnership that you have with the district. Okay, action item, is there a motion?
Mr. Van
Yeah,
Wall.
I'll make a motion. Sorry, I was just gonna couple of things here. I move that the board award the construction manager at risk contract for elementary number 20 to Poe Construction.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Linker. Discussion on this? Anything? Okay, we'll go ahead and vote. All in favor? It is all 7 of us, none opposed. Congratulations. Okay, 9D, consideration and possible action on approval of property lease for additional office space.
Dr. Ferguson, you may want to add to this, but as you know, our administration building is overwhelmed every day, from parking lot to meeting space to just places to put people. We've used about every closet available for an office. We have 3 portables on campus here, 6 classrooms that we are making function as an office, and we are out of office space. And so you know that over a year ago, we were able to secure a lease space behind Sonic in the Prosper Town Center, and all of our elementary curriculum designers are housed there. It's worked out very well. It was an old medical office. We were able to get in there and, without doing a lot of construction, able to make that work for them. The medical office directly next door to them became available this summer. And so in discussions with our partners over there, we have been able to secure a lease, is what you see in front of you right now. If this is approved, we believe that we could possibly move into the space as early as late November, January, maybe a little more realistic timeline. We anticipate moving our secondary curriculum designers to that space, which would give us a good fit over there with our curriculum folks being able to work alongside each other. There's ample parking behind that facility. It was actually double parked. They increased the parking there when they built that facility, so I think it works. And again, the medical office layout kind of works for what we need in this situation, and we anticipate that we would turn the space that they're in right now into meeting space, because just throughout the week, it's almost impossible to have a meeting here because there's just no room anymore. We've taken all of the conference rooms and made them offices and meeting spaces, and so we desperately need that space. And so we're going to move them over there, but they may come back to have meetings over here because we might need the space for that. But that's the plan. This would be with the same company, again, that we leased the other one with. They gave us a very competitive rate, even though inflation, we talk about it every month, has gone up tremendously. They have only raised the rent $1 per square foot for this lease compared to last one, and the market rate is much higher than that. So I feel like they feel like we're a good tenant. We've been a good tenant, and so they offered us this rate. So I recommend it to you without hesitation tonight. But to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, just looking at the lease, we can't predict the future with the bond, obviously, but if we did have an administration facility, now it's a 5-year lease, are we locked into all 5 years?
So we are not locked into all 5 years. We are
Okay.
guaranteed a minimum of 1 year with renewals up to 5.
Okay, great.
And then at 5, we would have to renegotiate the rate.
Only question I had.
Thank you, Dr. Bradley. I know that culture is a big part of Prosper ISD, so I do look forward to someday, Mr. Bridges, you mentioned the new administration building at some point in time when we can get everybody back together again, because it's great that y'all are coming back from meetings, because, hey, this is a special place. We want to keep it a special place, and that extends all the way up to admin. Okay, we have a motion, or excuse me, we do not have a motion out there. We have an action item on this, so take a possible motion, and then we'll have discussion here in a moment. Does anyone have a motion?
I move that the board approve the property lease for the additional office space as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Cavender. Any discussion or further questions on that? All right, hearing none, I'll go ahead and call the vote. All in favor? That is all 7 of us this evening, none opposed. Thank you all. We do not have any other speakers signed up for public comment this evening. That takes us to a report from the superintendent.
Yes, so as you may be aware and know, for our community, we have the Suzuki Strings program, and that is our kindergarten through 5th grade program. It is housed at Winsong Elementary. We began that program in 2016 when Mrs. Rachel Holt joined us, and then we expanded that over to Johnson Elementary, where we have a second site. We have over 300 students on the wait list, in order to be able to get in this program of choice, because they literally come from all over the district. The parents provide transportation, and you'll hear in this video in just a moment the importance of the parent in that education of the child, which we all know, but it's really highlighted nicely.
Suzuki Strings is a special way to teach little kids how to play instruments the same way that they learn their language. Shinichi Suzuki was a Japanese violinist who took all the parts of learning your first language and he translated it into learning an instrument. Listening, lots of repetition, a very early start, positive parent environment. And you can take that philosophy and you can put it in the public school, and it works beautifully because it brings the community in and the kids are learning together. It's really a method of developing the character of the child and all of those things that come along with dedicating yourself to a project. Perseverance, discipline, working with others, but most of all, we're developing the heart of the child. The music speaks to your spirit, even as very young children. And I think if the child is learning to be sensitive to their own playing and their own tone, that they're developing their heart. That sensitivity to the world around them and the people in their lives, that's what we're trying to develop through this method.
So it's a pretty special program. I was actually at Johnson this past week, and just being able to sit in that space with a child, a parent, and an educator, it just is a reminder of how very powerful public education is and what we provide to kids. So glad to offer that. We did the treat trolley, which was a super fun day. Mr. Crownover, Mr. Beavers went with us over to Prosper High School. So really trying to create that culture of advocacy and a culture of voting within our own staff and how very important it is. One of the staff members at PHS told me I had never voted before, but when I heard kind of where our percentages were as a staff and voting, it kind of bothered me, and I thought I need to do something about this. So it did exactly what it needed to, and so she said, so I went to go vote for the first time, and I was like, that's awesome. So glad to hear that. So we were able to walk the halls of Prosper High School, and if y'all don't know, that's a very large building. It took about 2.5 hours, but it was so much fun to be able to offer them a treat, a soda, whatever they wanted to get out of our treat buggy. And a lot of happy people, and being able to just engage with our incredible staff. And I think to our students being able to see how very important voting is. So it was a great day to honor them. We also went to Folsom Elementary, you see there in the middle. So Prosper High School, Folsom Elementary, and then our very own HR department was the department that was awarded. Ms. Hunt is doing the champion. There we go. All right. So it was fun to be able to honor all those great employees.
Hey, we did also learn that day, I was just gonna tell y'all real quick, Dr. Pepper and Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are a hit amongst educators. So if, you know, the people at Reese's are listening, if y'all want to bestow a gift on Prosper ISD, they would love your product.
But we also had the Skinny Pop and Water,
Skinny Pop
the
was
Air and
also
Water
there.
group.
That's
So
right,
they needed
yes.
Air and Water.
We have
so-
elder people as well.
So it was interesting to see the choices, but and it was fun because some of them were like, could I take two? And we're like, sure, you voted.
You earned it.
Sure. So it was a lot of fun. So we hope to continue this tradition. And then our parent ambassadors, I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I was really just going to go and say hello. Ms. Trotter did a great job of leading this, but what I found is that I wanted to stay. This group of parents are just absolutely exceptional. Many of them have come back for another time to be the ambassador, to lead those tours at each of their campuses, but I just wanted to sit in the space and be able to hear their stories about why they chose Prosper ISD, what their children are doing in the district, why they stay in the district, and so it was really heartwarming to know how many of these great ambassadors and just true advocates for public schools, Prosper ISD specifically, that there are, and being able to just be in their presence, it was truly an honor. So I want to thank Ms. Trotter for leading that, and Ms. Ciotti for making sure that all happens. And if y'all get a chance, I would encourage you to stop by one of those because it's a pretty neat thing to see these parents in action. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We will now go into closed session. and we will come back out to take any final votes this evening. So we are now in recess. All right, we are back. The time is 9:40 p.m. Let's see here. We have one last thing to do, and that is consideration and and possible action regarding hiring contract personnel. Do I have a motion for this? Anybody?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
Let's see. Where's it?
It's that one. Other.
It's not on here. I can,
There's no language specific to it, but I think that we can.
I'll make a motion that we approve the hiring as presented by administration.
Sir, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cavender. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Dixon. Any discussion on this? No discussion, I'll call a vote. All in favor? That is all 7 of us, none opposed. That completes the evening. The time is now 9:41 p.m. and we are done. Thank you very much.